Welcome to Bone to Bone, Marriage of the Heart, sponsored by Nichols Knight Production. We are your hosts. I am Katina Robinson.
And I'm Ronnie Robinson. And we are broadcasting live from Studio 12, The Den. Welcome home.
And speaking of home, thank you so much for allowing us into your home, whether you're listening on denradio.fyi or whether you're watching us via Facebook. We appreciate you so much, and you are going to be so excited about tonight's topic, our guests, and everything. It's going to be off the chain.
We're going in.
We're going to be
lit.
Yes, sir. You know, I know the young folks don't say that no more. I still say it. We're going to be lit.
Yes.
So let us tell you a little bit about Bone to Bone, Marriage of the Heart, and then we're going to introduce our guest. Bone to Bone, Marriage of the Heart is found in Genesis 2:23 and 24.
And 23 says, And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. And verse 24, Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
And we love being each other's one flesh, huh, baby?
Yes, cutie pie.
Yes.
Yes, and this bone to bone, marriage to the heart, and we all about it.
Yes, and the second half of Bone to Bone, Marriage of the Heart comes from Matthew 6:21, which says, For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And we always like to just talk about that a little bit, because whatever you treasure, whatever has your heart, you treat it with the utmost respect. You do your best to take the best care of it. You pamper it. You keep it in excellent condition. So that's what we always want in a marriage, is to have each other's heart, because we know if you have our heart, you're going to take awesome care of us.
Can I piggyback on this?
You sure can, baby.
You know what, one thing, guys, when you have a beautiful wife and you got a wife that's chasing God more than she chase you, you got to take care of that treasure. You got to go in sometime and sharpen that iron, or else shine that iron up. My wife, she's an awesome helpmate. That's why we are bone to bone, and we are definitely one flesh.
Amen. And Bone to Bone, Marriage of the Heart purpose is to encourage couples to remember love is worth fighting for.
Yes.
All right. Yes, so tonight's topic.
Look at them, the young folks over there.
Yes. So we're going to tell you what our topic is first, and then we're going to introduce our guest.
Yes.
Tonight's topic is obstacles that millennials face in marriage. So it's going to be lit, like we said. So I'm going to take this time now to go ahead and introduce our special guest. We are so excited to have them here tonight. Our guest is Minister Caleb Brown and Paige Brown. They are members of Raymond Church International. Both serve in different auxiliaries within the church, but predominantly in the youth ministry. Minister Caleb is the co-director and youth pastor over the youth ministry. It says Minister Caleb, but you know, I know that when the man is working, the woman is too. So I say they both over the youth ministry.
Amen.
Because he can't do it without her.
That's bone to bone on that bone. So hey,
so we believe in giving women a props up in here.
Yes.
They both have a heart for seeing the youth develop into what God has destined them to be. They have both traveled to Jamaica with the church doing mission work, and Minister Caleb have traveled to Africa and the Philippines. They have been blissfully married for 5 years and are the proud parents of one daughter.
Yes.
So welcome, Minister Caleb and Minister Paige Brown. We are so excited to have you guys on the show.
Yes.
So we're going to dive off into this topic. So our first question of discussion is, what are characteristics of a millennium? We're going to let y'all go ahead and flow with it.
I'm going to ask Caleb to go first. I'm going to let the head of the household shine now.
Characteristics of millennials. A lot of times, millennials get a lot of negative characteristics thrown out there, predominantly. But, I think some of their strongest ones, and I like to lead off with the positive, some of their strongest ones is that they are so creative.
Yeah.
Creativity is very strong, and they're bold. They are a very bold generation, and they are a very free spirit generation. You know, and so they are creative in their boldness, which is I think what God, and I know that God put them in there for this generation, for this time, and I think that is going to be a key element to a lot of things that we're facing as a church, as believers nowadays, and I think that's going to be a key element to a lot of things that God is going to do. But some of the negatives are that they are a little self-centered. Self-centered.
Come on.
Selfish.
Entitled.
Yes, entitled. Yes. Think that everything should be about me at all times. You know, and so it's things that I think should are teachable things, you know, because selfishness and entitlement, that comes from a lack of teaching. One thing, you know, from my dad, you didn't have room for entitlement in our house.
All right.
Daddy
didn't play that, huh?
No, Daddy.
Tell them right there.
Daddy did not play that. One thing you learned in my house was you don't own nothing. Even the clothes you had.
That's real. Though.
You own nothing because, you know, Daddy supplied it, and he knew that God was the source. And so when God handed it to him and he gave it to you, then, you know, the source was God first. He gave it to me. So you are just a beneficiary of my faithfulness and my, you know, fruit.
That is so good.
That's good teaching. That's good teaching. Go ahead and tell us a little bit, Miss Paige.
Well, one positive thing I know about a millennial is they have a sense of self-worth. They want to genuinely make a difference, whether it's on a job, anything that they're doing or in. It's not just enough, okay, well, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to work this job. I want to know that I'm making a difference. Of course, millennials I've seen to now be more educated, as well as millennials are definitely tech savvy.
Oh, yes.
A negative is they're a little too tech savvy.
Yes, exactly.
So that's
a good point.
Yes,
a good point.
Good. And we're going to put a pin right there and ask you to go ahead and share this video. If what you are hearing and what you've heard thus far, you know it can bless some young people.
Yes.
So don't play. Go ahead and share this video. Go ahead and get it out there. Get the young people to watching so they can learn and just glean from what's being talked about tonight. Because we targeting them tonight. You know, on every show we try to target a different topic, different just conversation. And tonight is about the millennium. So we want to definitely touch them.
And I just want to touch on that. We need some changes, and it's going to come from the millenniums. They got to step up to the plate and understand that it's spiritual first.
Yes,
it's God first.
Got to be.
And then themselves, and then the ones that they got in their entourage. You know, think of a spiritual level starting there, because it's the spirit, the soul, and the body, and they got to understand that those three work together. But the spirit is the most important.
Yes, and you know what? I'm gonna piggyback off that a little bit. I think one of the biggest things for millennials nowadays, there is not that figure, that key figure, spiritual-wise, that can relate to millennials. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned from my youth and from our young people is that oftentimes they feel like the church don't hit the real topics that they're going to nowadays. You know, they teach from experience, their experiences, but a lot of times there are not a key young, relatable people that are there to talk about taboo issues. I'll put it like that.
Wow.
Issues that you should touch as a church, because they're going through them.
Okay, Caleb, I was talking to my wife, and in our ministry, I want to know how, at my age, to approach the millenniums and be able to minister to them and not get them to think, oh, you old fellow, I don't want to hear what you guys saying, this and that, but learn how to relate to them.
Yes,
give me a good point to say to that age bracket to know that I can minister to them and they can feel me and not say, oh, you out of my range, you're not in my genre right now. I mean,
yes,
you're a little too old. I see gray right there and all that type of thing. But really, I want to be real with them, because I know that in that age bracket, it's a lot of puffed up brothers.
Yes, it is.
And only because of the way they was brought up.
Yes,
you know, so just give me a point how to approach them, you know.
One of the things that I've learned, even in approaching, because I'm at the top. Like, I think I'm at the edge of a millennial.
Okay, yeah.
And so, like, you know, I often find it hard to kind of relate a little bit sometimes, but I do in often cases. But one of the things I try to do when I'm talking to one of them, or when I'm about to approach one of them, is I try to make sure I be as genuine as possible. Mm-hmm. I don't have a pre-line in my head, mm-hmm. or a scripted line in my head.
Try to be transparent.
Yes, I try to be as genuine and come with as much love. Mm-hmm. Because one thing I notice, and this is the key thing, one thing I notice is they can sniff out when you don't love them.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
They can sniff it out.
Yeah.
That's good.
They can tell.
Look,
from
that
the
goes with all generations, so it don't change because they millennials. They can, they know when you genuinely, love them, or when you're just wanting to, get on their butt. They can tell the difference. They can tell the difference. So that carries us to our next question: how do those characteristics affect the millennium in marriage?
Ooh. I want to hit this one.
Go ahead, Miss Page. You start first.
Well, especially with, let's say, the negative one of being selfish. I mean, having kids or being married, either one, they're going to grow you up.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes in marriage, it's going to be 80-20, 90-10. It's not always going to be 50-50. So you have to be able to really give pretty much at all times. You can't just be selfish with marriage, period.
That's true. That's true.
Marriage is for grown people.
Yes, it is. Because there's a lot of compromising going on.
Yes,
and the millenniums, like you said, they're already selfish, and it's all about them. And so, if you take that into a marriage, it's gonna have some problems because you got to balance. You got to be able to compromise and give of yourself when you don't feel like it.
Exactly.
Okay, exactly. What is that? What is the core, the age bracket we talking about though? I mean, you can start from 18 to what number that
18 to 35 was the number that most people go by for millennials is 18 to 35, and it's so from 18. What I was thinking about at 18 years old was not what I'm thinking about at 28.
Oh,
okay.
And so, but what I can say is one thing I noticed is that I've run into a lot of immature 30-year-olds.
Wow, true.
And so it's like they're hanging out with the 18-year-old, just like it's their homeboy.
Yes.
Like
that's it's the norm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you just hit a key point though. The parents are becoming the kids' friend.
Oh,
yes,
and that's where the chains are broken from your status quo of the home. Like you say, your father was the father, right?
Yes,
and he put his foot down when it was time. But now they become so close as friends and this and that. The child is looking at the mom like you just like Susie down the street to me, or type of deal.
Yes,
So you hit a key point that the parents need to take their rightful place.
They do.
And I know you guys got notes over there, so we just hitting some ice right now, breaking it a little bit. But those notes, y'all get in them. So what?
And that was the thing though that we always did with our children. Of course, we have older children now. The youngest is actually in college, so we don't have little bitty ones. But that was the thing I always like as a mother and Ronnie as a father. We always lay that down. We're not your friends. We're not gonna be your friends. Don't ever think of us as friends, because we're not going there. Because I feel like when you say to a child that you're my friend or we're friends, that respect boundary is going to get crossed, and then somebody going to get knocked out.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the real. I mean, I'm old school. I'm some old school parents. I will whoop the butt. I don't play that. And it was so funny because when our son was growing up, like his ultimate goal was to be taller than his mom. He like that was his goal, to be taller. And I said, no matter how tall you get, I can knock you down. And so that we just always kept that respect, and we can say we just didn't have disrespectful kids because we didn't play that.
Absolutely.
And so with the millennium, I noticed like you can be in stores and these parents be bargaining with their kids, and I'm like, what the man? Where did that come from? Parenting has changed.
I think, and I think you hit a very valid point. There's been a a shift in the value system.
Yes.
The culture is now shifting in value. So it's like what the value was 30, 40 years ago. They don't place any value in those things anymore. So like I give you an example. My dad once told me, like, in regards to young ladies, he says, what you don't want to do is you don't want to treat a lady like she's nothing to you. Like she's like she's just dirt, or she's just of no value, because eventually one of these days you're gonna marry a young lady. And you don't want that seed that you put in the ground to come back to you.
That's right.
You know, and so that stuck with me, man. And that value that my father had was planted in me, and it grew up. And
well, thinking about having 4 girls, I had 4 girls. So, but I wanted to live like a father should in front of them. I wanted to treat my wife at a high grade,
Absolutely.
very high grade A.
Yes,
you know, opening her doors, putting her jacket on, pulling her chair out,
Yes,
and doing things like that in front of them, and they know what I stand for.
Yes.
But I want to get back on what you was talking about. I'm gonna give you another good example. The cutoff from my age bracket, and you, like you say, you at the tail end of being a. You can be sitting down. This generation do not even speak to an elderly.
Oh, yes, sir.
They walk by an elderly, not even speak. But I was raised, when you see elderly, how you doing, sir? How you doing, ma'am? And keep going. Or else, if you're walking by,
well,
how you
and
do?
you walk in a room.
Exactly.
You walk in a room.
Yes.
The saying used to be, "You didn't sleep with them last night."
No.
So if you walk in the room, you better acknowledge and say, "Hey, how you doing?"
And then
and all of
talk.
that.
You didn't talk out of turn. I mean, you sat over there and be quiet and
grown folks talking.
until one of the grown person say, "Oh, you're so cute. What's your name?" And then you talk. Other than that, Zippo.
Yeah.
So, but that's the difference, man. We was raised to love our elders, to understand them, to glean from them, to get wisdom from them. And this generation have lost that. And I think with all of the carnality of phones and computers and all this type of stuff hurl at them, because one thing Satan is going to do, thank you, Holy Ghost, he's going to hurl accusations at you.
Oh, yes.
Along with God wants your thoughts, but Satan is going to hurl more than he can.
Yes.
And he's going to have his imps to join in, because he know that what the eyes see, it most likely want to touch.
Yes.
And people got to have things to touch just to know that, okay, it's real.
Yes, sir.
So that's the cutoff.
Yes, sir. One of the biggest obstacles, I think, you hit on it, is technology, phones, phones.
Oh, yes.
Like,
oh yes,
my daughter came out, I think, knowing how to work a phone. She could get on our phones, go to YouTube, find her videos at 1.5.
wow.
1.5.
Wiser,
she could do that.
wiser, but weaker.
But and that's the thing about it. So in marriage, when it comes to millennials being married to each other, now you cut off line of communication, because your line of communication with everybody else is so open just through a phone.
Yes.
You know,
That's
you can
true.
express so much outside your house with just a phone, and you can do it silently, and she never know, or he never know.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
so one of the biggest things is that technology has taken away the value of face-to-face time.
Communication. Yeah.
That is so
Face-to-face
true.
time.
That's true. That is true.
Kayla, what you think about this? For us, the young ladies, what is your opinion? Paige. But I'm just excited. I'm excited about our conversation. But I want Paige. What can you say to the young ladies out there that is their life is about their phone and not having that communication with their mother or their parents, because they want to go outside and ask someone else a question that they should be asking their parents? What can you say to them to get them to revert back to understanding the parents are the cornerstone of the house?
even though we are in like a different day and time, more than likely some of the things your parents have already been through. I mean, it's the same stuff usually over and over. We're just exposed to it at a younger age. A lot of times when we get, let's say, on social media, on our phones, and we're rambling or ranting off our feelings, we're putting out there for everybody to see.
Wow.
And at that point in time, you're just upset or angry, and it may come off in a wrong way, or in the height of your emotions, you go way left. So your parents are like, okay, well, you need to calm down. Let's bring it back, and let's actually talk about what's going on, or how did we get to this point. I mean, even when the things that we put out on Facebook, whether it's pictures, and I mean, a lot of that stuff is not truly who you are. Instead of, it's who you portray to be, not who you are.
Come on.
So
That's true.
you gotta be. They all talk about we gotta be 100. We gotta be real. I don't even know if they say that. But I mean, if you're gonna call yourself 100 or real, then let's be real. I mean, I know some that have. I have seen some pictures and some things or material things that they have that I know at 16. I'm sorry, you working at McDonald's. You don't own this kind of car. Or you do these kind of things. And I know your parents, they don't let you go out and do none of that. So, I mean, be who you are instead of, I mean, you might get likes or whatever the case may be. But, I mean, that's all frivolous. It's nothing, you know.
That's true.
Amen.
So we're going to ask you to go ahead and share. I want to say hello. We want to say hello to everyone that's saying hi on the comments. We thank y'all for tuning in. Please go ahead and share the video so it can bless as many young people as we possibly can, and adults too. We're not just talking to the young people. We're talking about the young people. But we want to share it to everyone. So parents, you can learn from this and maybe know how to communicate better with your young people. And young people, you can learn maybe better how to communicate with your parents by just stuff that we're talking about tonight. So go ahead and share the video, please. Our next question is, how do we as a church help solve those issues? And before we get into that question, I just wanted to say one scripture that I wrote down for this. Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And so when we wrote down that question, that's what came to mind. That's the scripture God brought to me. And I think a lot of times now, you know, we just don't train up like we should. We're, like I said, trying to be busy being their friend, or it's just a whole different world that we want to approach, and we're not training. And so when they go left, or when they're doing this or that, then the parent is like, I don't know what happened.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes we as parents have to take responsibility and realize the Bible tells us to train them up in the way that they should go. And so that's up to us to train them. And if they're not being trained right, then how do you expect them to go right? So, you know, a lot of it starts at home. Go ahead. I know you itchy. Go ahead. You got your notes over there. Come on with it.
I think that's a big thing, because I think one of the aspects that we forget about millennials is that they're a generation that the previous generation had the highest divorce rate. And so now you have a generation that's the product of single parent homes, single mothers predominantly. And so now you have single mothers that's trying to make a living as well as teach kids at the same time and raise kids. And so, you know, you never know. They might have 1, 2, 3 jobs, you know, and you can't make time all the time for your kids and work trying to feed and clothe and provide for them. So they're a generation that oftentimes are seeking attention, which is why they go to the social media for likes and all this Snapchat and they go and they're seeking that attention. But it's not pure. It's a hole that it's a black hole that only God can fill. You know, and so when you're saying train them up in the way they should go, biggest things, one of the biggest advice I can give parents, and that I live by raising my daughter. My daughter just turned 4, and you know I know how it is to be a dad. You know, to raise a baby girl, that is like,
oh my goodness.
Woo! You know, it makes you love so hard, but you're so protective, and it makes you always be conscious of what you're showing her.
Yes,
what example are you putting out there?
Yes.
And that's a good point.
One of the big things I often model with my daughter, and I ask God about. I say, Lord, you have to show me day to day what to do, what not to do. My parenting skills are not here in my head.
There's a scripture for that. And in Psalms 37:23.
Yes, sir.
The steps of a good man is ordered by the Lord.
Yes, sir.
And that's the thing, we're talking about the millenniums here and what the church can do about that. I'm going to say this. The first thing the church needs to do is stop being hypocrites with what they're doing.
Yes,
If they telling the millenniums that they don't do this,
yes, sir.
don't let the millenniums see you do it. The bottom line, right? Yeah. That's right. You try to live this thing out for Christ. Don't just be a fan of Jesus Christ. Be a follower of Jesus Christ, and show that in front of them, and be consistent. Be consistent on what you're saying. Amen. You want them to put their eyes on you. And you keep their eyes on you, and every time they see you, you doing the right thing to really build them up, to say, okay, amen, I can do this thing then. Okay, I see Mr. Robinson, I see Caleb, I see them doing this thing and walking this thing out. But then you got some that, I don't drink, but yet still a young fella see you walking out of a liquor store and you still saying, God, hey, God, I know God, man. Like I say, there's a lot of fans out here in this world.
It is.
But what about the followers? That's the one the millennials got to cling on to. Yep. Listen, young guys and young ladies, if someone is living for Christ before you, gleam off them and know that they're for real, because you got a lot of phony folks out here that's fans and not followers.
That's so true.
And on that question also, where it's talking about how does the church help solve these problems, what we also see a lot of is, like back in our day, and parents went to church.
Yes.
You don't see that as much now.
No.
Like a lot of parents don't even go to church.
Right.
So the church don't have the opportunity to bring up the millennials and to help walk them through this and to walk them through that, because way back then, church was what black people turned to. Mm-hmm. And then we got where we, could have the big houses on the hills and the nice cars and all of that. So we lost our hunger and our thirst for God. Mm-hmm. And so with that, we got busy and stopped going to church. Mm-hmm. So then the children didn't get to go to church, and then the ball is dropped again.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So go ahead, Miss Page. You sitting over there kind of quiet. Go ahead, girl.
Well, there's two things I think, and I mean, one of them was already mentioned. You have to, at this point in time, as the church can help, you have to be able to divulge every single thing, the good, the bad, and the super ugly. I mean, you have to be transparent, of course, as the Lord leads you, but you just have to be transparent. And other than that, I think in order to be married now, to successfully and stay married, you almost have to have a relationship with God. I mean, there's so much more that you're exposed to, so a lot of things that's going on, and you just have to. I mean, I'll say from my experience, I think, what did we get married? I was 21, you're 22, I think. And I think, everybody was telling me, no, you're too young, don't do it, you ain't got enough money, so on and so forth. And I believe the first time I just knew I heard God loud and clear, and we were 3 days out from having a ceremony, and I said, God, if you tell me to marry this man is my husband, and if you don't, I'm done with it. We won't get married. And he told me to marry him. And since then, haven't looked back, and everything's been great since then. Now, of course, you have to keep that relationship. You gotta constantly talk to him, because there's things that come up, and I mean, you're always, especially with following God, there's things, I can't, a number of things, you get in an argument. And well, let me back up. Not only with knowing God told me to marry him, say we have a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, a bad year, at the end of the day, I know that this is my husband. Amen. And that I'm going to be with him regardless whether I even like him or not.
Go ahead, baby.
I know that I'm not going anywhere and he's not going anywhere.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Amen. And I think that's the thing, that millennials go into relationships now they'll even hyphen their names. Like they don't even want to take the man's name, or and they go into it with, if we get divorced. So you're already setting yourself up. And, you know, they don't realize the scripture that tells us that life and death are in the power of the tongue. So if you're speaking a divorce into existence already, you're just setting yourself up.
That's correct.
Absolutely. And like you were saying about love, at the end of the day, that's one of the things I've always, my husband and I will celebrate 15 years in March. Praise Jesus.
Yes, Lord.
And that's one of the things that I've always said. I said, no matter what disagreement we have, no matter how hard times we may go through or whatever, at the end of the day, I know this man loved me with everything in me. So we gonna fight for each other. We gonna fight for this marriage. It ain't it ain't no throwing in the towel. That's not even an option.
Right.
So we have to let young people know, that that's not an option. If you going in it, you better go in it knowing it's a permanent marriage. It's not no divorce up the road. It's no splitting up. It's none of that. It's got to be gone into in the frame of mind that it's permanent.
I don't know if you guys knew, but Arkansas is number 2 in the nation in divorces. And you think about that. You got the millennials getting married because of the status quo.
Yes, sir.
The degrees, the carnality of what they can get together. Wow, look what we can have.
Yes,
but guess what? Like you said, in the end of the day, do you know each other? Yeah. And then when they get to that point, like, who are you? Or who are you? We got all this, but who are you? Type of deal. And that's why these divorces are, the rate is so high. It's because they're not putting Christ before them before they even take this journey. You know, one of our guests said, this is one of the things they quoted: give yourself 100 first. Take care of yourself first. Take care of your spirit. Take care of you. Make sure you rooted and grounded in Jesus Christ before you make that step and find that one. Because my wife said this: there's a lady out there praying for a good man. If she's in Christ, she's praying, she's on her knees, Lord, bring him to me. But guess what? That man got to have he's got to have himself in order with Christ to be able to find that lady praying. So it's a team thing.
Yes, it is.
So with you guys' conversation as youth pastors, what is some of the conversations sound like when y'all are talking to young people that's dating?
Ooh, that's a good question, baby. That is a good question.
You want to go?
No, you go first.
I'll start on this. One of the conversations, one of the biggest things we hear now is that there's nobody out there. There's no options out there.
Wow.
And that's one of the most surprising things I hear is there's nobody out there. There's no, all these, and what I hear from the young ladies and the young men, that they don't see potential within their generation.
Wow.
And I thought that was so amazing. But I think one of my biggest beliefs is that as a parent and as a believer in the Word of God, that if we're teaching the Word of God, then that comes out in the young people's lives, And so I see within you potential. It may not be your attitude, it may not be what you're portraying at that time, but the Word of God, I see that in you. I saw that in my wife when I first saw her, when I first met her. Now, I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew. I can tell you the story. I'll tell you the story.
Go ahead. Share it with us.
I met her when I was not looking for anybody. I wasn't out for no relationship. I was playing ball in high school, and I was being recruited and all this stuff, and puffed up. Oh, look at me! I'm this big recruit. And I was off to college, and I told the Lord before I went off to college, I said, Lord, if I don't have a girlfriend, before I go to college, I ain't gonna have no girlfriend, because I ain't gonna do right. And one of the biggest things, listen to this, young folk. Everybody listen to this. One of the biggest things you have to do is be real with God. You can't outfake God. You can't fool God. He know you.
Fake him. Go ahead.
So you got to be real with God. And what I said to him, I said, well, Lord, I wasn't in church like I am now. I wasn't following the things of God like I am now. I told him I just ain't gonna do right. I said, you got to send them. You got to send them to me because I don't, And what happened was my god sister. Imagine that my god sister introduced me to my wife. And I was like, well, I ain't trying to. It was 2 weeks before I called her. And I remember we had been talking on the phone before we even met. We talked for 2 weeks on the phone before we even met.
Wow.
And I remember our last conversation, we were setting up the date. I felt this in my spirit. I didn't know what it was then. That was my wife. Wow. And it came out my mouth.
Wow.
It came out of my mouth. And I said, CB, we don't do that. No, but here we are.
Yeah.
10 years later, and my wife.
Yeah. And
spoken into existence.
Telling me that story, obedience is what this millennium generation got to understand. They got to start being obedient to God and being humble.
Absolutely.
Being humble to themselves and understand. But it hurts my heart that you say that they can't see goodness out of each other. I mean, I think it's the phones that they can see so many pictures of a man or so many pictures of a lady to they just get numb to understanding to who they are and just forget all that and let God order their steps, like I said. But
it's so deceiving.
They see
what people put out there because people going to put out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat what they want you to see. Right. So you're not going to see the good, the bad, the ugly.
Exactly.
And so young people see that and then they get deceived and be like, oh, I wish I had a boo like that. Or, I wish I had a girl like that. And you're seeing, what that girl wants you to see or what that guy wants you to see. You're not seeing that real person. And so technology causes people not to have that old school sit in the room, just communicate, get to know each other. Like back in the day, like we did. So technology is a beast.
But what is something else that the church can do though? What I know we can give the word, we can give it to them. I mean, 24/7, 365 days a year. But what is one thing that you think, Caleb, that really hooks them and you can reel them in and they have confidence? Okay, reel me in because I'm tired of what I see and what I'm doing out here and I'm ready to make a change.
Yes, one of the things I prayed that prayer. One of the things that God has allowed me to do and He's told me to do is I have to live that in front of them. Like you said it. You said it. And what I do is I invite young people with me on just random, like just things I do. Yeah. Come with me. They go out to dinner with me. Yeah. When we came and spoke at Evangelistic Ministries, my armor bearer and my wife's armor bearer, her armor bearer was a 20-year-old young lady.
Yes, I know.
That we had been ministering to for 5-6 years now.
Wow.
So she was able to see not just a person in the pulpit, but she knows the person behind that. Exactly. She knows the integrity of the person. Amen. She knows So she's seen me and Paige sow seed. Even knowing our situation behind the seed that we probably didn't have it to sow, but she saw that seed go out. So when we go and talk about tithing, she know that's coming from good ground. She know that's coming from a proven ground that I saw that, not just heard it. So
and it's all about the transparency, and that's the life we want to live as an adults, not the millennium, but the example to the millennium is that they look at marriage and they look at our marriages and be like, that's what I want. Yes. But it's so many people go through the motions in marriage that I've heard a lot of young people say, if that's what marriage look like, I don't want to be married. And that's why they shack, or that's why they choose to, have sex out of before marriage and just go through the motions of what married couples do, because they see so many bad examples of people just going through the motions, or either actually in the house, they're seeing always bickering, always, they don't even like each other, and so what kind of example is that setting? I know with us, we always purposely like we would let our kids see us disagree because we wanted them to see the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they knew when mom and dad was hot at each other.
Yeah.
But right after that was done and said, we laying up on cuddle.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, like you said, at the end of the day,
you know,
yes.
and that
we bone to bone.
and I feel like that impacted them, you know, in a way that, okay, you can disagree, but you still, when it's said and done, you love each other, you know how to make this marriage thing work, and that's what we need to set the example, because they're just not seeing enough examples.
Caleb,
Yes.
speak to the young guys right now about if they're a young fella that's living in a single parent's home, a female per se, and she got boys. Speak to those young guys and let them know their characteristics of what they should be doing to take care of that single mom and not disrespect her because they out doing something they ain't got no business, and come in and bringing money and throwing it on the table and saying, "Mama, you shut up," and all that type of stuff, because I'm paying that type of thing. But tell them how to be to that single mom, man. These guys out there, these young fellas.
What I would say is the biggest thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your mother feels safe around you.
Ooh.
So you have to make sure that that because you are the man of that household, and with becoming a man, then the women in your house have to feel safe in your presence.
Amen.
And so what I would say you have to do is sit down and have a conversation with your mother. Make sure she knows you get the expectations from her of what she expects from you, and also allow yourself to tell her what it is you expect as a mother from her. That way y'all both have clarity of vision.
Amen.
Yeah.
Because one thing I know about the order of God is there's always order, and there's always something that he wants to get across. And so within the house, he'll put a vision there.
Oh yeah.
He'll put a vision there, and he'll put it in that woman of God or that woman in the household, but he'll also give it to that young man. And there are hopes and dreams. That's why you always see those athletes. They go, I always knew I was going to make it, and they always have a drive, and they always have that mother, and I knew I was the man stories.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's you have to have those expectations. Kevin Durant did the awesome job of, he sat down with his mom and him and his mom mapped that thing out.
That's
a
good
vision.
example. Good example.
Write the vision down, make it plain. I say to you, get with your mother. Talk to her. Don't get in that facade of this is who I think I am. No, be real and have a conversation with your mother.
There you go. What about you, Miss Page? Give them young ladies out there some word of advice.
Well, I have to go back.
Okay.
And when you said that they don't find anyone, I guess, that they can date or that they want, I feel like, speaking from a lady's perspective, a lot of it is, I know it's kind of going off, but the self-worth. You know,
That's good.
I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's, what Hollywood or what the media, whatever they put out as beautiful or nice or whatever the case may be. I mean, some of the pictures, some of the statuses, the posts, the Snapchats. I mean, you're worth so much more than that. So your self-worth alone, I mean, that goes for young ladies and men as well. So the things that you portray yourself as, or you put yourself out there, the things that you do, I mean, you have really got to get a sense of your self-worth.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to pretty much kind of what you already said, I mean, with being a lady, all the emotions and everything, I mean, you have to sit down and talk to and be able to cry it out, fall out, whatever it is you need to do. And I mean, find you someone with hopefully within your family that you can just really talk to, that has preferably some sort of relationship with God.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
Because go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Because you just have, like, even I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be. When I grew up, I didn't hang out with a whole lot of females. I wasn't fast or nothing. I like to hear what the males had to say, especially about girls. And I would talk to them. You know, this is outside that. I would talk to them and see, okay, well, oh, such and such did this. Oh, I definitely don't need to make sure I do that.
Yeah.
So you just have to. It goes back to so much as your self-worth alone. What I feel like it is.
Amen.
And what we always did purposely with our children is, like, for years, I know, you know, before my husband and I got married, I was a single parent, you know, raising my 3 children. And one of the things that I had to learn was that you have to have a village for your kids. You got to.
Absolutely.
And I learned that, and that we created a village because we were like, you know, we know as parents, you're not going to always come to the parent. We know kids are not going to always bring everything your parents. So at least create a circle of people you trust and know that they will guide your children in the right direction. Like our children, of course, it was our youth pastors. The Clecklys was amazing, pivotal part in our children's life, and just other people. And what we wanted to do was create different families that they could relate. Our children could relate. Like with us, you know, we didn't do it the right way the first time. Like I said, we both was married before. The Clecklys, their testimony was they went to school, met in college, dated, were virgins when they got married. So that's what we want our kids exposed to. Do it the right way. Here's an example. And then we had other, you know, people that was in their life that maybe was a single woman and was living this thing out for God. So we just created, you know, just a circle around them, because we didn't want them to feel like, oh, I can't talk to my parent. Well, at least you got this person to talk to. And so that's what I think we've lost too as this generation, is that we don't create them villages. And it's a lot of time because you can't trust everybody. So you really have to have that discerning spirit with who you're going to let your kids be around and who they can confide in, you know. And so I think that's a thing that we've lost in this generation is creating that village, so that your children would go to whoever you put in that village to talk to. Because like you said, when they're battling with self-worth, they may even be competing with mama. You know, I've heard little girls, I have a girls mentoring program called 7 Purple 8, and I know there's girls that even feel like they don't equal up to mama. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mama's pretty, she's got this, she's doing this or whatever, and I don't feel like I'm on my mama's level. So they're not going to talk to their mama about that. So they have to have a circle of people that they can talk to that will help pull that self-worth out, you know. And so that's just, you know, an example that came to mind. But yeah, we definitely got to be on the grind and just discerning and hearing God and creating mentoring programs and creating this and creating circles for they feel safe. You know, the young people feel safe and lead by example. Hey,
I'm going to put a pin in it. Please share the video. I mean, it's a lot of information is flowing out tonight, and it's about the millennium and the obstacles that they deal with in marriages, or in being single, or want to date, or want to be engaged. You know, it's the genre is there of what they want to do. But share this video. It's an awesome family the Browns are on tonight, and they are really pouring it out to us and to you all. So let's dive back in before we leave.
And for all that missed the introduction of the Browns, they are youth pastors, so they can relate. You know, they deal with this. They deal with the millennium, and they deal with the young people and the things that they're going through. So we wanted, you know, people that were experts in that area, because they deal with it. I mean, there's nothing like being hands-on with it and knowing how to talk about it. One of the other things let's touch on right quick, and then we're going to have to start wrapping it up, is basically dealing with the outside circle. You know, millennials work so hard to impress so many people. And so I feel like if they go into a marriage at a young age, you know, how concerned are they with pleasing their spouse opposed to pleasing their friends and their outer circle? So do you guys like run into or have those kind of conversations with the young people?
Well, I mean, even in our marriage, I think when we first got married, you know, the God was amazing with the blessing and the favor, because God says when you find a wife, you find favor with God.
Yes,
you know,
favor.
so you know, I found my favor in my wife. So but one of the biggest things is, and one of the things I noticed about my wife going in, I realized that she is a person that likes things to look good as well as be good.
Okay.
Right.
You know, so I mean, she wants, of course, the core of her marriage to look, to be good and be fruitful and have the product of a genuine loving marriage, but also, you know, the fruit on the outside needs to be as well. So I remember our first year of marriage, we moved into an apartment together, and you know, I was comfortable in the apartment. I was fine, you know.
Wow.
And I do believe that wives are meant to push the husbands. Hey, go on, get on out there. Because I was absolutely fine. I was thinking, you know, we can stay here a couple more years, save some money. You know, nope. Next year we bought a house.
All right.
And she was like, no, we got to get us a house. I don't do apartments.
All right. Hey.
And one thing you have, this is the thing. And I'm gonna say this about my wife, and this be a testament to her. Is when we were dating, we dated for 4 years before we got married.
Okay.
We dated for 4 years before we got married, and I didn't hug my wife chest to chest until 2 years into the relationship.
Wow.
I didn't kiss her on the lips. Yes.
Respect.
I didn't kiss her on the lips until 2.5 years into the relationship.
Wow.
My wife was a virgin when I met her.
Wow.
You know, and so it was the respect I had for her as a woman.
Amen.
That
Listen,
pushed,
young guys.
that pushed me as a man.
You need to say that again now. Come on, listen.
Yes.
Listen.
It was the respect I had for her as a woman. Because one thing I learned is you can't have her respect you until you give her respect.
That's
Yes. Yes.
She needs to respect just as much as you do. But the Bible says, the word says, you have to love her.
Yes.
And if Jesus Christ is on the inside of her, John 14 says that if you love me, you'll keep my commands. So when your wife is asking for you to do something, how does she garner your love towards her? You have to show her.
That's it.
Amen.
I always tell my husband, actions speak louder than words.
Yes,
Actions speak louder than words. You can talk it all day long, but if that woman ain't feeling it. And the thing of it is, what you know, men have to realize, if you love that woman and you give that woman that attention she needs and all that, the benefits is off the chain. So I'm like, you're setting your own self up for greatness when you treat and love and respect
Listen to my
that
bone
woman.
talk.
Come on now.
When you dish that out, I mean, like, it makes us as women want to do for our husbands. It makes us want to go that extra mile. You know, it makes us want to just love on them and give them all the love, the attention, the you know, pushing them to do great things because of the love they're showing to us.
One of the greatest things God gave me when I met my wife is that, and listen, young guys, if you want to really fall in love with your helpmeet, potential helpmeet, study her.
Oh, absolutely.
Study every move that's going to make her happy.
Absolutely.
And study even the ones that's going to make her sad. Make sure you don't tap into that zone. Make sure you know the zones that are good and bad. So the best thing is to study her and be the best you can be to her while you studying her. And when you get to that point that you asked her to marry you, you know that she have seen the best in you. And I can say this. We didn't get it right the first time, but I got it right this time.
Amen.
I got it right later. And this is why. It's because I did not just accept her. And guys, if you're out there and you're gonna marry a lady with kids, accept the total package. And show each person in that family that you love them. And not just the female, just the one you're gonna marry, and not love the kids. So guys, if you marry a lady out there that's got kids, marry the total package. Love those kids like they're your covenant kids.
That's right. And I know we've covered a lot of grounds, you guys. Please share the video. You still have opportunity to share video, and I see some comments going, and we see your comments, and I'm trying to acknowledge them as much as I can. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. And we were talking about, you know, the topic was, of course, obstacles that millennials face in marriage. So please share this, because I know it's so many young people that can benefit from what we've talked about tonight. And we also, just was talking about how studying each other and learning within the marriage. Once you are in that place of being married, you have to love. And I made reference to when a man love his woman and give her all, then they get the best of us. And so that's what we always want to do, is give them the best. And speaking of the best, today is my baby's birthday. We want to tap into this part of the program and just wish my husband a happy birthday. Babe, I would not be half of the woman that I am without you in my life. You are amazing, absolutely amazing man. You are absolutely amazing father. You take man of God to a whole nother level. You walk the walk, you talk the talk, you do all of those. And so I am so honored to be your bone. I am so honored to call you my husband. I am so honored. I always tell, and I always say this, and I don't, say this lightly, but I always say, God created you just for me. Hallelujah. And I am so thankful to God that he created Ronnie Robinson just for me. Happy birthday, baby. I love you with everything in me. You are an amazing man. Oh my God. I can't even get on here and begin to talk about how amazing you are, because it would take a way more time than we got.
Thank you, sweetie.
So I love you.
Yes, sir.
When was your birthday?
Yes.
Thank you.
They are well aware of your birthday.
How could we not be?
I know, right? Yes, I had to let everybody know it's my baby birthday.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Thank you. Ooh, wow.
Don't hit the mic.
I'm excited.
Don't hit the mic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Rich. Yes.
That's it. That's it right there.
That's right there.
I'm going to get on this tonight.
Yes. Mama said happy birthday, son. Junior said happy birthday to the best father in the world. Okay, everybody on. Go ahead and send some shout outs to my husband.
Yes.
Destiny say happy birthday, Brother Robinson.
I'm sorry.
No, baby. This is your day. This is your day, and I already prepared them that this was coming.
Listen. I'm very honored to have the Browns on here, because I got to see you and your wife over at EMC, Evangelist Ministry Church, and you brought the word, man. It was awesome. I mean, powerful, and it just got into people core to really make them understand who Christ is in their life. And Paige, I want to thank you.
Yes.
We need more women.
Yes.
We need more women to stand strong for their men.
Yes. Amen.
Stand strong and encourage their men and let them know that they're somebody and they're a good husband of a home.
Amen.
We need that. So I really, really thank you for taking care of this brother. That he can get on here and be the best he can be.
Yes. Yvette says happy blessed birthday, homeboy. That's someone from his hometown. Thank you, Yvette. Miss Alice Lynn, Pastor Alice Lindsay said happy birthday. And so, y'all keep the shout outs coming. We got a few more minutes on here, and I want to spend this time just giving my husband all the praise, all the happy birthday, all the celebration. Because when I tell y'all, I am a blessed woman. I am beyond blessed. There's nothing that I ever desired that this man of God don't try to provide for me. He helped pull all the positive out of me. When I met this man, I was a very negative person because I had went through some things in life and I was an angry woman. But my husband, because of the man he is, he pulled it out. He saw all the potential and would speak into my life. Amen. He would speak who I was, and he spoke the book of being an author. He spoke being a motivational speaker. He spoke the girls mentoring program. So everything I walk in today is because of the man of God that God created on this day, January the 18th, can I give you a year, baby? 1965.
Yes.
He had Katina in mind when he created Ronnie Robinson.
Absolutely.
And baby, you are amazing. You are amazing. You are an awesome example. I know if our son could just come on and just testify and just talk about the example that you have set as a father for him. I mean, when, like I said, when my husband met me, I had 3 kids. And 2 of them were girls and 1 boy. And that boy would not be who he is today without this man. Oh, my God.
Amazing.
And he has, my son is dating right now, and he shows that young lady the love that he have learned from his father, showing him, just showing. He said, amen, amen. Just showing, because it's not about words. It's about actions. And
yes.
baby, you show the action.
Yes.
Everybody that's in our atmosphere knows that Ronnie Robinson loved Katina Robinson and vice versa.
Yes.
So I thank you. I thank God for you.
Absolutely.
I love you. I love you. Oh, I love you.
I love you, baby.
And
love you.
so-
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We did our celebration early, so y'all ain't get to see all that. That wasn't for y'all. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the birthday shout outs and just coming on the show tonight. We thank the Browns again for just
having
coming
us.
on and hanging out with us. We learned so much about the Millennials that we didn't know. You know, because like I said, all right, go ahead.
I
babe.
want to say something.
Go ahead.
Guys,
Love you too, son.
stay humble. Stay humble.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's okay to cry, man. It's okay.
It is.
It's okay. It's okay to cry.
Yes.
So don't feel weak or anything.
Yeah.
You a man.
That's
Yes.
right.
It doesn't
And-
make a man weak. It's a cry.
It does. And Tiffany said, you guys are truly an amazing couple. Thank you for setting a wonderful example for me to follow after. Praise God. Thank you, Tiffany.
peace.
She just got married. So,
Wow.
and she's been
Wow.
watching Bone to Bone since back when we was in our living room doing the
That's
Robinson
two
Corner.
corner, yeah.
So thank you so much for your support. Thanks everybody for
Congratulations
watching.
to you and your husband also.
Yes, beautiful wedding. Oh my
Yes.
God, that was a
Yes.
beautiful wedding. But again, we thank you, Browns, Caleb, and Paige. We thank you so much for coming on to the show. And, you know, there'll be another time we'll get you guys back on because we learned so much from you guys. You are such an inspiration. We just connected to you guys the first time we met. And so we were honored to have you guys on here and been excited about it. And so thank you for coming on.
And we'll love to meet those mentors.
Yes,
that you all
definitely.
speaking about. So,
Yes.
So
Yes, we
Okay.
definitely
yes,
will.
get to meet those.
Yes.
So you have been tuned in to
To
Bone to Bone, Marriage of the
Heart.
Heart. Thank you so much. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. We love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the evening, and we will see y'all the next time.
Peace.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah. Wait.